Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace, blessings, and mercy of Allah be upon you all, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. I wanted to talk about this trial between Amber Heard, Miss Heard, and Johnny Depp, Mr. Depp, for a while now. But this matter was sub judice. It's still technically sub judice, but it has been formally handed over to the jury by the judge. And fun fact, the judge in this case, Miss Penny, she is a former Marine. So that's just a fun fact. I am inspired by that lady, by the panache and the experience and scholarship that she brings to the table. Sheer inspiration. So it has been handed over to the jury formally, and now they are deliberating upon the matter and they'll come up with a verdict. So technically it's still sub judice, but for all intents and purposes of this podcast, the matters which were brought up in the trial have been discussed extensively in front of the judge. And so now I'm free to talk about some of these issues, some of these things. And there are a couple of very interesting and really important things that I want to bring to your attention today, because this trial has really taken the youth who are extremely active on social media these days by storm. So almost everyone that I talk to, from my youth, from my youngsters, my students, even elders, they are 24/7 looking at this thing on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. And so there are a couple of very interesting lessons that we can learn from all of this, and there are a couple of extremely important things that we should keep in mind regarding this trial. I mean, in the backdrop of this trial, generally talking about Hollywood and whatnot. So, bi'awnihi ta'ala, let's begin and let's look into these couple of things. I started making notes on my notebook and then I stopped. I mean, when I do research about a subject, especially from the point of view of YouTube, also from point of view of writing a paper or anything really, it starts with a pen on paper always, almost always. There could be exceptions, but that's the most concrete way for me to begin to write something down. It's tangible. I can feel it. I can feel the paper. I can feel the ink when it's been written upon through on a paper, and I can feel the pen in my hand. I can feel its nib. These are all tangible things for me. This is how it starts. And then it goes into the digital side of affairs, typing it out or going to the internet for research and whatnot, going to the libraries for research. When I started writing some of this stuff down for tonight's podcast, and I stopped. And I thought to myself, I don't want to really write points down this time around for this podcast. I don't want to sound fake. I don't want to sound rehearsed or reading from a transcript. So this is all from heart. This is all extempore. Whatever I'm going to talk to you about, it's going to be real in the sense it won't be post-produced in any way, shape, or form. No editing involved, nothing, no transcript involved, nothing written down, no points. I'm going to try and, come up with a structure as I go along. So if you're going to stick around, rest assured, this is all from heart. And this is all honest. I'm not trying to appear something that I'm not. I'm not going to say things that I don't believe in. I am not going to be faking it in any way, shape, or form, inshallah. So this is all from heart. And inshallah, I'm going to bring to your attention a couple of things that you might have not thought about previously. So first of all, I am sure that you guys, anyone who's joining me tonight, all the viewers, you are aware of this thing behind me on your screens, the trial between Johnny Depp and Miss Heard. And you can find great resources on YouTube on which this trial is available for you if you want to look into it. I would highly recommend that you go to this channel, Law and Crime Network. I think they have done a great job in covering this trial in its entirety. I'm going to come to Joe Rogan as well, but let me just start from saying, I don't know how many of you have watched Johnny Depp's movies in which he's done some great method acting. I mean, there are commercial movies by him, but I kind of grew up watching his stuff, especially with Al Pacino. Forget about it. What was the movie called? Donnie Brasco. Donnie Brasco. Johnny Depp is from my generation. It's my generation. Great actors like Jack Nicholson and Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, those guys are an older generation. So in my generation, there are very few method actors really. And the face of this whole thing, this method acting thing, as far as I can tell, are two actors, Johnny Depp and Christian Bale. Christian Bale, man, if you haven't watched his movie, The Machinist, I mean, I can't really, tell you much about it. Okay, don't go and, seek fatwas against me that I'm trying to tell you to go and watch movies or stuff like that. Yes, there is nudity, there are sex scenes in The Machinist, so you should stay away from those. I'm only talking about art, and I'm only talking about performing arts right now. So in that aspect, he's a great actor, great method actor of our time, of my generation. And there are others, but for me, these two are at the top, Johnny Depp and Christian Bale. And so I grew up watching Johnny Depp, and I watched a lot of movies by him. So naturally, I'm that way inclined. I'm that way biased. So when this whole thing started, and I'm not the kind of guy who's into, reading about actors or trying to stay up to date about Hollywood news or about Stardom news. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't look into these kind of things, although this is the second or third thing that I do every morning when I wake up, that I look through my app, which is an app that gathers feeds from all major news websites. And so I look at those, I look at the news, but those are like, the international news and whatnot. And yeah, this trial has been in the news as well. So from that, I got to know about this whole thing. Although I was vaguely aware that there were problems between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and, she applied for a restraining order against him. Johnny Depp went to England for a court trial, which he lost and whatnot. I was vaguely aware. But this trial, I then followed. I have looked at hours and hours of that footage. It was addictive, really. And so I feel that I can talk about some of these things that I'm going to talk about. I feel that I am authorized to talk about some of those things. The first thing that I want to bring to your notice is the whole conundrum about toxic masculinity. After the fifth wave of feminism took over our so-called social media and whatnot, and it became politically incorrect to even, say or suggest that women could be wrong. It largely became politically incorrect after the fifth wave of feminism, against which, by and large, although there are slight academic differences, but by and large, what Jordan Peterson talks about most of the times. After that wave took the social media scene by storm, it is extremely difficult for men today in Western societies to come up with a good defense in a court trial against the allegations of sexual abuse or marital abuse, domestic abuse. There was a time when even these societies and system in these societies, it works 80% of the time. I'm not saying that the Western civilization is without corruption or that corruption doesn't happen there or that they are saints or something. No. But the systems that are in place in those countries, in the first world countries, in the developed countries, unlike the third world countries, these systems work there 80% of the time. And it used to be really vice versa. It was extremely difficult for a woman in the past to get any kind of solace against powerful men of that society of Western culture, even in front of court of law, even in the court of law. Now, I am generalizing things, and this is not really my field. History or IR or law, none of these is my field, really. So I'm being cautious here. But I hope that most of you will agree with what I'm saying. And this has now changed. For better or worse, we can come to that discussion some other time. But this has now changed the other way around. So it's very difficult nowadays for any man to defend himself against these allegations. And frankly speaking, I don't see Johnny Depp winning this completely. I mean, in the sense that he'd do a clean sweep and, whatever he brought to the table, whatever claims he made, everything will be granted. No, I don't see it that way. Maybe in some of these claims he would come on the top. In some of the claims Amber Heard would come on the top. I think it would be a mixed bag. If it happens differently, then it would be a pleasant surprise for me, and I'm always ready to be surprised. But this idea of toxic masculinity is really at the heart of this. Now, I want to introduce you to Zishan Bhai. I hope most of you know about him. He runs a channel called Smile to Jannah. Excellent guy. And if you haven't subscribed to his channel, please do. I asked him if I could use his videos in my video, and he, being the nice guy that he is, Jazakallah khair. Jazahullah khair. He said you're free to use any of my videos. Now this guy has talked a lot about this. Also, I hope you know about the Muslim skeptic as well. This video was deleted originally on YouTube. And so I urge you guys to watch this video at least before it is taken down again. This is Brother Daniel Hakikachu, and this video is called The LGBT Plan to Spread into the Muslim World, the Muslim Skeptic.
The last major holdout on LGBT is the Muslim world. And the powers that be in the West are asking one question: how do we get Muslims to accept homosexuality and the gay and trans lifestyle?
How do we get the Muslims How do we get the traditionalists to accept homosexuality, gays, lesbians, transsexuals, this gender neutrality? Anyone can say, I feel like I'm a female. I feel like I'm a man. I feel like I'm neither a man nor a woman. That this kind of thing. How do we get these people who adhere to a system, to an ideology? And it's not just Muslims, it's also other people who are called traditionalists. How do we get them to accept this whole thing? This is what the West is currently, and the West think tanks are currently really thinking about and are really very disturbed and perturbed about. And so there is this idea of male masculinity. The videos that I'm going to recommend by Zebhai.
Two things here. Why on earth are they so intent on sexualizing our kids? And number two, why are they so intent on creating gender confusion amongst them? If they're not confused enough, mate. And even kids channels like Cartoon Network, they boast in 2018 of having their first LGBT wedding. While all that's going on,
So this is the first video that I'm going to recommend. It's called They Warned Us. It has now begun. The second video is on the pregnant men.
gotta bear with them. Okay, let's start the video. So Netflix has released posters and trailers.
Have you guys seen this? I hope at least the ones who watch Netflix know about this. When I first saw this poster, I was like, what? I vaguely remember I saw a poster like this with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover. I don't know what I don't recall what the movie was called, but I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was portrayed as being pregnant in that movie, and that was a flop, and nobody really paid much attention at that time. I mean, at least 20 years ago.
Of a series that they've done showing a man who gets pregnant. Now, Apple's iPhone didn't want to be left too far behind, so their latest update also includes pregnant men emojis as well.
Man, this is absurd. Absurd.
This is something the LGBT movement has been trying to push for quite some time, which is the blurring of the lines between the genders.
So this is the second video by Zishan Bhai that I highly recommend that you guys watch. The third one is this one, The New Masculinity.
But we missed the main edition of GQ, which featured musician and artist Pharrell Williams.
What the hell is this? A'udhu billah.
As I'm sure you can appreciate, this is gonna need some explanation.
Yeah, a lot of
Assalamu alaikum, guys,
explanation.
and welcome to another episode of Small to Jannah.
Alaikum assalam.
Now I'm sure we can sit here and say he looks like someone in a banana skin.
Man, this guy is great. If you haven't yet subscribed to his channel, please do. Smile to Jannah. And these are the 3 videos that I highly, highly recommend that you go and watch. But this is at the heart of it. Now, what's happening is that these people, these think tanks and these institutions and these big names and whoever these guys are, I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist. I don't exactly know who these people are. I'm not going to say these are the governments of the world or these are think tanks, but there surely is evidence, sound evidence, that millions and millions of dollars are being spent on this, are pumped into this. You watch every other Netflix series these days or a movie these days, and it features a gay couple or a lesbian couple or references to transsexuality. So this is happening on a big scale. We have sound evidence for this. And so what is really at the heart of it all is that they are now pushing for the masculinity to be labeled as toxic in general. And they are linking testosterone, which is, oversterone is the female hormone primarily, which makes a woman, and testosterone is the male hormone, which makes a man. And so if you look here, and this is from Stanford News, this is Stanford University, I'm not going to, just generally to any website. It says stronger reaction to masculinity, threats tied to testosterone, Stanford sociologists say. We all heard it before. If a guy is made to feel less than manly, he will act even more macho to make up for it. Now, new research suggests that this behavior may have something to do with how much testosterone a man has. And so, do you know what is happening nowadays? They are trying to regulate testosterone. Zishan Bhai on Smile to Jannah on his channel, he's got videos in which he shows proof of what I'm saying. So you can refer to his videos. Maybe in some other video I'll go into detail about this. But what they're doing nowadays is they are trying to regulate testosterone. And so if you go to a supermarket, for example, you'll find milk and milk products which would have testosterone regulators. And this is real. This is for real. You'll have what Zishan Bhai talks about, what he talks about in one of his videos, is that there is sound evidence that some of the air fresheners available in supermarkets of some of the Western countries, they have testosterone regulators in them. So it lowers the testosterone in males. There's also sound evidence that genetic modification is available for parents who are concerned about their male children in the womb of their mothers. If they are concerned about male children, there is genetic alterations available scientifically. These are scientific methods, these are biological methods relating to medical science, which alters those genetics in those male children as to make them less manly, less testosterone driven. Can you imagine that? This is an attack on masculinity. And nowadays, what these people are pushing for, LGBTQ supporters, is that they're trying to link violence with men. Men are violent. Simple as that. If you have testosterone, if you're a man, you're violent. You're going to commit crimes. You're going to make the society worse. You're going to commit domestic violence. You're going to beat up women. You're going to rape women. You're going to... Every bad thing that's happening in the society, it's men who do it. That's their narrative. And they want to get rid of this masculinity aspect, this testosterone that makes us who we are, men. That makes us men who we are. So this is I hope you guys are understanding the implications of all of this. The implications are far-reaching. And this trial, it's not going to help anyone's cause in this aspect, in this backdrop. The idea of violence, of domestic abuse, is too strongly linked with the male in today's world. And what this trial has done really, all this trial has done really, is that it has given an opportunity to Johnny Depp to speak out. The burden that he was carrying on his shoulders, the burden that he was carrying on his back, that he could speak about some of it, and so he could really lighten his heart. And that is what he says in his closing statement, in his closing stand. The last stand he took on the witness stand. So I think, well, in that regard, it was good that he found a platform finally, so he could, talk about how the relationship was equally toxic. And like I said before in the beginning, I don't see him doing a clean sweep here. I don't see that at all. So this is one of the websites that I've shown you regarding this. Let's talk about it a little more. Now, this is Medical News Today, another well-reputed website. It talks about toxic masculinity in this article, and it says toxic masculinity is a term often used to describe the negative aspects of exaggerated masculine traits. The term has evolved over time and has a place both in academia and everyday speech. Please pay attention. Frequent use of the phrase may result in some people misinterpreting what toxic masculinity is, which could lead to further misunderstanding and irritation. The concept underlying traditional masculinity are complex. Some people may find it difficult to challenge archaic thinking and to move past these negative aspects of tradition and outdated male values, and it can take time. Oh my God, how do I even begin to explain this? Outdated male value? What do you mean by that? And when you read this article in its entirety, you will get to know what Brother Daniel Hakikachu talks about, and he's published himself a book about it, which I highly recommend that you go and read. And he talks about the strategic plan of these guys, how to introduce these ideas, how to inject this support for LGBTQ into the very fabric of society. And it begins with this. Not exactly begins with this. I think this is the second or third step. You're calling these values outdated masculine values. What are the outdated masculine values? What are the values that you're labeling outdated? It's an umbrella term that you're using now to actually render all masculinity and everything linked with the idea of masculinity as outdated, as barbaric. In other words, when you say outdated, what does it mean? It means barbaric from ancient times. You don't need it anymore. Yeah? That's what it means, right? I mean, don't play games with us. Come out and say it. Say it as it is. Last but not the least, Scientific American. Again, a well-reputed website. Strange but true, testosterone alone does not cause violence. Hormones don't necessarily make men violent, but they do cause them to seek social dominance. Even people who are scientifically trying to prove otherwise and showing these people who link testosterone with violence and toxic masculinity, even they are siding with pro-LGBTQ think tanks. Even they are furthering their agenda. And they're saying, but they do cause them to seek social dominance. What does that mean now? It is commonly assumed that testosterone, testosterone, that stereotypically male hormone, is infinitely tied to violence. The evidence is all around us. Weightlifters who overdose on anabolic steroids experience roid rage, and castration, the removal of the source of testosterone, has been a staple of animal husbandry for centuries. But what is the nature of that relationship? If you give a normal man a shot of testosterone, will he turn into the Incredible Hulk? And do violent men have higher levels of testosterone than their more docile peers? Historically, researchers expected an increase in testosterone levels to inevitably lead to more aggression, and this did not reliably occur, says Frank McAndrew. So at least they are quoting some of the scientific findings relating to this. But really, when you read through this whole article, this article also sides with the propaganda. This is a propagandist article. It also sides with pro-LGBTQ promoters. And so what's happening is, okay, let me make this extremely clear now. The point that I'm making is, this trial, Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp, this is not a trial in which masculinity will prevail. At least I haven't seen that through this trial. Sure, both parties have presented their arguments, and Johnny Depp had a chance to explain his side of affairs. Sure, that's all well and good. But really, even if you guys have followed this, I mean, like Joe Rogan says, the least that has happened is that people have come to know that there's something wrong with Amber Heard, right? But I don't think Johnny Depp would win. I don't think this is a win for Johnny Depp in legal terms, even in social terms. Actually, all that talk about drugs and drug abuse and alcoholism, that has actually cemented and reiterated this idea of toxic masculinity. Women have come out on top in many regards. You would have seen, all this support for Johnny Depp, justice for Johnny Depp and whatnot, but that's just linked to the stardom. That is the stardom side of things, and I want to talk about that in detail as well. But the point that I'm making is that that's just a bubble. That's just a bubble. It's not going to have any lasting effect, at least from where I'm looking at it. The lasting effect is going to be, again, on the basis of this idea of alcoholism and drug abuse and whatnot. The thing that is going to come to the limelight is toxic masculinity and how it is linked with violence, with domestic abuse, with sexual violence, and how women in their day-to-day lives have to deal with these things. Joe Rogan, interestingly, has some very cool things to say about this. So let's hear him quickly. This is a video on 10th Planet. I don't know whose copyright this is, but anyways.
Her attorney said, "I'm doing my best." She took a deep breath. Her attorney is in the middle of the whole thing. She's like...
So he's talking about how, at least in this trial, we get to see that Amber Heard has something really wrong with her. And that this was not a relationship in which only the male was the aggressor, but at least we see this from the trial, and if you have a sound mind and intellect, at least you'd be able to see that at least it was mutual. The abuse was mutual at the very least. Even if you don't side with either of them, either Amber Heard or Johnny Depp, I got nothing against Amber Heard, I can understand a 55-year-old falling for a beautiful girl like that, almost half of his age. I can understand that. I can understand why Johnny fell the way he fell. Amber Heard was named as one of the most beautiful Hollywood divas at one time. She has got perfect facial structure. She has, great features. And she in every word, in every sense of the word beautiful, she could be called as a beautiful. Outwardly, I'm speaking outwardly, obviously. But what this trial has done is it has also shed some light on her inner psyche, on her mentality. And this is what Joe Rogan is talking about. And it is interesting the way he is tackling this.
I'm doing my best. In the middle of questioning.
Oh my God.
She's just given up. She's like, this is done. I've got a crazy person as a client. Well, he has recordings of her admitting she beat him up. There's no recordings ever of him saying that he beat her up. There's no evidence that he beat her up. There's no images of her battered and bruised, like she said. The best part, though, was her lying about donating the money to the ACLU and the Children's Hospital. She said, yeah.
So, Joe Rogan is first talking about Amber Heard's lawyer and the way she gives up in the middle of the trial and takes a deep breath and says, "Oh, I'm trying, I'm trying." Because, that has a lot to do with how Camille Vasquez, one of Johnny Depp's attorneys, came at her in the cross examination, and she really, she tore that apart, that testimony apart. And when it was the time for redirect, there were lots of objections that were brought up by Camille Vasquez. And so the attorney, Ms. Heard's attorney, was really, she was flabbergasted. The second thing that Joe Rogan talks about, which is very interesting, is this moment in the trial when Ms. Heard is on the stand and she's asked about the donations, because when all of this happened, one of the major thing that Amber Heard was criticized on was that she made Johnny Depp not to sign a prenup or post-nup or whatever it's called, prenuptial agreement or post-nuptial agreement. And so she got $7 million from Johnny Depp, and she was criticized about it. If you're saying that he abused you, nobody takes money from the abuser. Nobody does. It's human psyche. It's not just human psyche, it has a lot to do with morals as well. And so she was heavily criticized about this. And what she did was that she said, "Oh, but I didn't want anything for myself. I'm going to donate it all. I have donated it." In fact, in interviews, right after their divorce, she claimed that she has donated it all to the charities. And that is not true. She hasn't even yet. And when she's asked about this, she says, "Well, I pledged it all." And pledge and donation are the same thing, because when you buy a house, you don't pay all of the money that you owe for buying that house at once. You get a mortgage or something. And that's completely crazy. You see that something is wrong with this person. Pledge and donation, these are two different things. Pledge is a promise, that I promise that I'll give you this amount of money. Donation is giving that amount of money. So when you say I've donated, that means you have given that amount of money. It's not just about the promise anymore. This is what Joe Rogan points out, and it's very valid. And that shows you that this person is a liar, is a pathological liar at some level.
Yes, I pledged the money. And they go, "No, you said you donated the money." I did pledge the money. No, you said you donated the money. That's not true. That's incorrect. I pledged the money. And she keeps saying that I pledged the money. Like she's a literal insane person.
Sweet.
He is suing her for defamation because she wrote a whole article saying that he beat her, and she kept coming out and saying she's a victim of domestic abuse. It was hilarious. It's hilarious to watch because she keeps saying, "Stop, that's not what I said. That's not what I asked. I asked, did you in fact not donate the money?" She says, "That's not true. I pledged the money."
That's correct. You stated you would be donating.
More power
So in
to you.
October of 2018, you had received your entire $7 million divorce settlement. You would agree with me.
That is correct.
That's good, right here.
And you hadn't yet been sued by Mr. Depp.
This is October, correct.
So in this October 2018 interview, you said that you had, quote, donated.
You said that you had, quote, donated the money, end quote.
Your entire divorce settlement to charity, right?
That's correct.
And in fact, your exact words were, quote, $7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, end quote. Right?
That's correct. I made that statement as soon as I got a divorce and we reached the settlement. That's when I pledged it, right then.
Pledged it.
And you say this because you, quote, wanted nothing, end quote.
That is correct.
But you hadn't donated your entire $7 million settlement to charity at that point, had you?
That's incorrect.
That's incorrect.
Sitting here today, Ms. Heard, you still haven't donated the $7 million divorce settlement to charity. Isn't that right?
Incorrect. I pledged the entirety of the
Pledged.
settlement.
So you see that there is something wrong with this person right there. You see the manipulation that's coming from her. And listen, guys, I don't have anything against Amber Heard. I don't even know the lady. I don't think I have watched any movies by her except for the one that was written and produced in some way, shape or form written, when I say written, by Johnny Depp himself. I think it's called The Rum Diary. I think that's the only movie that yes, I have watched Justice League and I watched, what this other movie is called? Aquaman, yeah, Jason Momoa. So, yeah, but I don't know the lady. I'm indifferent towards, whatever she's saying or doing or however she's conducting herself. And so I'm not really taking any sides here. I'm not trying to appear like a woman hater or somebody who says that the women are at wrong always. No, I'm simply saying, and the points that I'm making are in the backdrop of the LGBTQ movement, pro-LGBTQ movement, and this whole idea of labelizing masculinity as toxic. That's primarily what I'm talking about. That's primarily what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about their domestic dispute. I think it was mutual abuse. Definitely, I do think very strongly, I do believe extremely strongly that Johnny Depp has never hit Amber Heard. And there is sound evidence to back that, because Johnny Depp, man, he was famous when he was, 18? And he's had so many girlfriends, so many partners. Nobody has ever said this about him. And she's the only one who's spoken about it. So all of those people, like people like Kate Moss and Winona Ryder, and who not? I mean, Winona Ryder. What is Winona Ryder? Is some Tom, Dick, and Harry. She's one of, at one point in time, I believe she was one of the most highly paid actress in Hollywood. She's got a big name, Winona Ryder. And Kate Moss. What are you talking about, man? Kate Moss, the supermodel. I mean, when I was growing up, we had these file covers who had Kate Moss pictures all over them, right? She was like the supermodel. She's still very high up in that society. And so these people were linked to Johnny Depp. And they all say, even Kate Moss took the stand. She said that Johnny never abused me. Nobody has ever said anything bad about this guy relating to this whole sexual abuse or physical abuse thing. So Amber Heard is the only one who came out. So she was the only one who found this courage within to speak up about this, because an abuser is an abuser. And this ties in with the next point that I'm going to make, inshallah, and I'm going to make it now, is the stardom. There is a reason, there is a sound reason why Allah prohibits the unchecked side of art and entertainment and all of those things. Let's look at these last verses from Surah Shu'ara. And unlike many other people who comment on this, unlike from where they start, I'm going to start from this ayah. This is ayah 221, in which Allah says, هَلْ أُنَبِّئُكُمْ عَلَى مَنْ تَنَزَّلُ الشَّيْطَانِ عَلَى مَنْ تَنَزَّلُ الشَّيَاطِينَ. Shall I inform you of whom the devils actually descend upon? تَنَزَّلُ عَلَى كُلِّ أَفَّاكٍ أَثِيمٍ. They descend upon every sinful liar. عَلَى كُلِّ أَفَّاكٍ أَثِيمٍ. What is art? What is entertainment? It's primarily lies. When you say imaginative thinking, creative thinking, when you write something, when you write fiction, what is it? It's a lie, right? But it is known that it is a lie. But it's a lie. At the end of the day, it is a lie. And if that liar is sinful, the one who's creating that art is sinful, then that is the one upon him descend the shayateen, the devils. Tanazzalu ala kulli. If you have a dispute on this with me, don't take it up with me, take it up with Allah. Go to a court, file a lawsuit against Allah. Go on. If you believe in the Quran, amanna wa sadaqna, there is no argument on it. Yes, the entertainment business, everything that's happening in arts and literature and whatnot is lie. It's lies. There is no difference of opinion on this. I entertain this every day. I talk to my youngsters and they are arguing with me every day. Sir, but this is like this or this is like that. There is no argument here. هل أنبئكم على من تنزل الشياطين تنزلوا على كل أفاك أثيم. Words of the Quran, words of Allah right in front of you. There is no argument. So please, don't ruin your iman. Even if we are indulging in it, even if I am indulging in some of it, I need to first understand that this is an ithm, this is a sin. And so I need to look at these ayat, I need to understand what I have to do in order to not commit this sin if I am in any shape, way or form linked with the entertainment industry. So Allah says, يُلْقُونَ السَّمْعَ وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ كَاذِبُونَ. Who give an attentive ear to half-truths, mostly passing on sheer lies. They pass on what is heard and most of them are liars. The Satans eavesdrop on the exalted assembly of angels and then convey that information to their fortune teller friends. The majority of fortune tellers are liars. If they are truthful in one statement, they tell 100 lies with it. So this is an exegesis of the ayah. But really, يُلْقُونَ السَّمْعَ وَأَكْثَرُهُمْ كَاذِبُونَ. This, I think, ayah is talking about a fakin athim, not talking about the shayateen. Yulquna as-sam'a wa aktharuhum kadhibun. They pass on, they write stuff, they concoct stuff, they imaginatively create stuff, and most of them are liars. They're liars. What you see on Netflix is a lie. What you see in Hollywood is a lie. Harry Potter, is that not a lie? It's fiction, right? And then Allah says, وَالشُّعَرَاءُ يَتَّبِعُهُمُ الْغَاوُونَ. Please understand this in the context. This is, I think, has been erroneously translated as for the poet. I think this wow is atifa. It's linked with what is coming before it. هل أنبئكم على من تنزل الشياطين. تنزل على كل أفاك أثيم يلقون السمع وأكثرهم كاذبون والشعراء يتبعهم الغاوون. So who are these أفاك أثيم who are telling lies 99% of the time? أكثرهم كاذبون. They are the shu'ara. And who follow these shu'ara? Only the deviators, only the deviants. وَالشُّعَرَاءُ يَتَّبِعُهُمُ الْغَاوُونَ. Only those who are lost in error follow the poets. أَلَمْ تَرَ أَنَّهُمْ فِي كُلِّ وَادٍ يَهِيمُونَ. Look at the way, subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah amma yushrikun. Look at the way Allah is now presenting the argument. Alam tara annahum fi kulli wadin yahimun. Don't you see how they rant in every field? The exaggerations and the ta'alli and the ghulu and whatnot, man. I mean, the best example of fi kulli wadin yahimun, the Marvel universe, right? The Hulk, a comic that I grew up reading, watching the TV serial with Lou Ferrigno and reading the comics. The Rageaholic. So what is that? That is ghulu, right? You think that exists in real world? No, it's a lie. في كل واد يهيمون وأنهم يقولون ما لا يفعلون. And they say what they don't do. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وذكروا الله كثيرا وانتصروا من بعد ما ظلموا وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Except for those who believe. الذين آمنوا, who believe, who are believers. وعملوا الصالحات, and they do good deeds. وذكروا الله كثيرا, and they remember Allah. They keep remembering Allah. وانتصروا من بعد ما ظلموا, and they defend themselves after they were wronged. So this is definitely a direct reference to poets like Hassan bin Thabit radiyallahu anhu and the rest, who became Muslims, and then they started to avenge the aggressors, the poetic aggressors, the creative, artistic aggressors. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. And at the end, they will come to know what evil end they will meet. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. That's a promise that the zalim people, the people who transgress, they will meet a very sorrowful end. So the point to note here is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. These are the three guidelines given to the poets, the artists. Remember, this is understood as primarily poetry. Art is primarily understood as poetry from ancient times. And I hope many of you know about Poetics, the book by Aristotle, because from those times, from ancient times, the art primarily has been understood as being in the shape and form of poetry. The prose is a later invention. So the point I'm making here is, and this is an important point, is that stardom, this whole idea of an entertainment industry, rock and roll, stardom, pop culture, pulp fiction culture, all of these things, they bring great evils with them. This is why it is prohibited in Islam. Because if you let it go unchecked, look at Johnny in this respect in the trial, because the trial was not about drugs abuse. What has he not? Now, for the youth nowadays, they are like drooling over crystal meth and whatnot. And, but really, MDM, do you even know what that is? I'm not going to go into personal details and talk about it that way. But the point is, kids nowadays, they don't even know about MDM, what it really is. They don't know about crystal meth, methamphetamines. They don't know about the acid, the LSD. They don't know about what black tar heroin is, what is the difference between black tar heroin and pure heroin, cut and uncut heroin. They don't know about marijuana, what really it is. They've only heard about it. They have maybe the youngsters nowadays who are into that kind of stuff, and it's very bad, guys. Stay away from it. But look at the trial itself. Johnny has accepted that he's done pills, he's done eye drops, he's done, I don't know if he ever did eye drops, but I guess he did. वो क्या कहते हैं, हुस्न ज़न उसके बारे में यही है कि उसने सब कुछ ही किया होगा. I highly suspect that he had stayed away from eye drops. So he's done all kinds of drugs, man. This is what comes: sexual deviance, moral deviance, use and abuse of drugs. And he says this, that the only person I've ever abused is man. Look at him, he's 58 years old, he looks like 70. Doing coke, snorting coke up his nose all the time. This is what comes with stardom. This is what comes with the entertainment industry. If left unchecked, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Except for the people who have done three things, who do three things. Except for them. Using drugs all his life, using and abusing drugs all his life. Sexual deviance. His kids don't really know him growing up. They've never known him. And really, even Joe Rogan talked about it once in one of his podcasts. He said, we are so jealous of these Hollywood people, of these Hollywood stars. And this is actually what they go through. This is the real truth about their lives. This is how it happens. This is what happens behind closed doors. Yes, it is permissible in Islam to write stories, to make movies. Sure, it is permissible. Even now, I am of the view, as far as my studies go, that even music is allowed in Islam. But these all have checks and balances. It's not like you can listen to anything and everything, and you can watch everything and anything. Or you can become a star, a rock and roll star. Look at Hamza Ali Abbasi, man. He had to leave the showbiz to come to Islam. Look at other people who were involved in showbiz. They have all said, pick anyone up. Yari, kya naam hai uska? This guy who promoted OneCoin once, Zaka something, I'm forgetting his name. Even he says this in one of his interviews, in one of his shows, saying that you can be a good Muslim while being in showbiz is a lie. And you're lying to yourself if you're saying it. You can't be. These are two different things. Religion and showbiz, these are two different things, two worlds apart. So this is how it is. This is how it is. And this is why Allah says, إِنَّ الشُّعَرَاءَ يَتَّبِعُهُمُ الْغَاوُونَ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. Otherwise, there is no saving point. There is no saving grace. So yeah, these were the 2 points that I wanted to make. One, the onslaught on the idea of masculinity and how this trial, in the backdrop of that, how this trial fits into it and whatnot. into that narrative. The second thing, the stardom, the entertainment industry, the arts and literature and whatnot. So you look at Johnny in this trial and he's miserable, man. He's miserable. Would I ever want to be as famous as Johnny Depp? No. Astaghfirullah al-Azim. If this is how you get it, if this is the price you pay for it, alhamdulillah. And I'm just, giving you an example. Would I ever like to be as popular as those people or be like them? No. Alhamdulillah, that's not in my heart ever. That has never entered in my heart. And our youth needs to realize that. Inshallah, I'll do a complete podcast on Fanunul Latifa, on the on music and arts and performing arts and whatnot, and how Islam deals with these things and what are the restrictions that Allah puts on these things. So inshallah I'll make a podcast only on that, but I'm just quickly hinting at this very important point, and I hope that you guys could benefit from this. So yeah, do I think Johnny is gonna win? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to do a clean sweep. Maybe he could win in one or two of his claims. Maybe so. But I don't see him doing a clean sweep. His win really is that he had an opportunity to explain his side of things, at least to show that this was a mutually abusive relationship, and at least to show that Amber Heard has something wrong with her, something mentally wrong with her. There's something extremely wrong with Amber Heard, really. With people like him, with people like her. I don't care if these are men or women, but people like these stay away from these kinds of toxic people, So yeah, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of your family, progeny, parents, everyone around you, and everyone in this world. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.